We getting shot in these streets.
I'm just like you.
We getting locked by these caps.
I'm just like you.
We fulfill the
I'm
prophecies.
just like you.
You might be light, I might be dark.
But I'm just like you.
We kill each other over colors.
I'm just like you.
I'm in these ghettos, in these slums.
I'm just like you.
They call you nigga, call me spick.
And I'm just like you.
You was 1619, I was 1492. We getting shot in these streets.
I'm just like you.
We getting locked by these caps.
Welcome to FCN Quick News of the Day. I'm your host, Officer Eben, and in today's quick news we have...
The purging of DEI from government and corporate America is testing their commitments to diversity. Many companies and public institutions are scrapping programs and canceling events or scrubbing websites, but there are also groups finding ways to defy the trend. This week, actor and entrepreneur Malik Yoba weighed in with an idea that got a lot of attention when he shared a video that started with this statement.
I decided that I'm no longer a black man, no longer a person of color, BIPOC, none of that. What I am is a non-white man. And I think we should all just start calling ourselves non-white.
Now, the video goes on from there, but outlets have grabbed onto the headline, Malik Yoba no longer identifies as black. There was actually one that just started with the word blasphemy. People have missed his real purpose for this post, and Malik Yoba is with us now to explain. Malik, good morning to you.
Good morning, brother.
There were some people who, they thought you were being facetious. Some people thought it was sarcasm. Some people really took it as sincerity. What were you trying to say in that post?
I wasn't trying to. Your show's called First of All, so I'm going to start with First of All. Thank you. First of all, I was on my way to a meeting, and it was just stream of consciousness. It really wasn't that deep for me, other than, this thought that occurred to me the night before, we are living in a world where in real time, our history is being wiped away in front of us. And all of the key words, black and BIPOC and all those things, those are the words that we're told that are searched on using algorithms and AI to identify why Jackie Robinson's removed from the Department of Defense or Tuskegee. And so it was a call to action for diversity. It's about all diverse people who don't identify as these labels that have been placed upon us, because none of us are white or black or any of that, right? I was raised to believe we're all human. And that's the work I've done my entire life around bringing people together of diverse backgrounds to work together, to find agency, to use their voice. And so for me, it's troubling. There's a lot of people hurting, I have a lot of friends that work in the federal government, people who are contract workers, USAID, EPA, MBDA, HHS. And so, it was an opportunity that I did not post on Instagram to go viral. You can't control that, but clearly it struck a chord.
Yeah, it struck a chord. And what we saw from some of the comments on not just your post, but other outlets that carried it, there was a degree of make them say it, right? That people attach themselves to beyond your statement about being a non-white person. Make them say it. Right. And we featured here some of those keywords.
Yeah, call a thing a thing. We live in a world where in real time, it's like the Truman Show or something, right? Like, don't believe with your eyes, right? Don't believe what your eyes are telling you. And that's troubling. Like I said, for me, like I said, my commitment has always been to how do we bring people together? Look, I'm a black man. I'm a man of African descent, right? Yoba means last of the slaves, a new generation. So I don't walk around even with a European name, right? And so my identity is this is always going to be how I identify. But beyond skin tone or someone's label, what my heart is about is how do we build people, places, and things? And that's actually the slogan of Yoba Development, right?
Okay, let's stop right
real
there.
Estate development.
So this is our brother Malik Yoba. So this is the confusion that a lot of our people deal with. So let's start off with 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33. For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints.
So the scripture is telling us that God is not the author of our confusion. But our brother Malik, he first said that he wants to identify as non-black. Then he identified with being Yoruba. Then he identified with we're all the same people. We're all one people. That's confusion. There's no progress we can make as a people with multiple identities. The only way we can make progress is identifying as the children of Israel. So now let's go into the history and let's see throughout history if we had any success with allying ourselves with the other nations. Let's start off with Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15.
But
it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake
So
thee.
the Lord's telling us that curses will come upon us as a nation of people for disobeying his commandments. And now let's see if this curse applies to us when dealing with the other nations that our brother want us to ally ourselves with. Jump down to verse 43.
Verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
So let's look at our communities. When we look at who owns all the businesses, who controls the wealth in our communities, it's the so-called Arabs, the so-called Chinese, the so-called Koreans, East Indians. These same people are set up on a high above us in our own communities. These are the same people that Malik want us to join ourselves to. The same people who take out the wealth in our communities and use our wealth to build up their communities, to build up their school, to get their children education, to benefit off of our people. Continue reading.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
He should be the what?
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
So these other so-called non-whites that our brother wants us to ally ourselves with, God is saying that they're going to be the head and we're going to be the tail. Meaning what? They're going to be on top and we're going to be on bottom. And the thing our brother Malik doesn't understand is these other nations, they are in agreement with that. So let's get that in Psalms chapter 83.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83.
And start from verse 1.
And verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies...
No, your friends.
Thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So God is saying these other nations that our brother wants us to ally ourselves with, God is saying that they are the enemies. And God said in the bottom, they that hate thee have lifted up the head. God is saying these other nations, they have hatred towards us. Because when you actually think about it, no matter where you go in the world, these other nations have their own version of the N-word for us. No matter where you go in the world, when we look at the condition of our people in their countries, they have us at the bottom while they're at the top. Continue reading.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
So it says that they have taken crafty counsel. One of those crafty counsels is that when they come into this country, this government will give them grants. This government will give them loans in order to have money to set up businesses in our community. The same funding and same money that our people don't have access to. Continue reading.
They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So it says they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Meaning what? All these other nations, all these so-called non-whites, our brother Malik wants us to ally ourselves with, they're all in agreement to cut us off from our true identity, to create that confusion and that lost identity amongst us as a people. Continue reading.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So they don't want that name of Israel to be any more in remembrance. Continue reading.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
So Brother Malik want us to be in a confederacy with the so-called non-whites. But the Lord is telling me these same non-whites, they are a confederacy against us. And now let's see. The Lord's going to name them off. Read on.
The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites.
So the Ishmaelites, the so-called non-whites, they're in confederacy with Edom. Edom is the biblical name for the so-called white man. Read on.
Of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre.
So remember, it's mentioning Gabal, it's mentioning the Hagarenes. Those are your Nilotic Africans. Ammon is going into the Japanese. Amalek, those are the so-called Israelis in the land today. The Philistines and inhabitants of Tyre. So all these other nations, the so-called Africans, the so-called Japanese, the so-called Koreans, the so-called Arabs, they're all a confederacy to keep the nation of Israel at the bottom, to keep the nation of Israel thinking that they're non-white, that they're Yoruba, that they're African American. They want us to have this lost identity so we don't remember who we are. So how does God want us? What kind of self-esteem does God want us to have? Let's go to Deuteronomy 7 and 6.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people.
So God is telling us that, no, Malik, you as an Israelite, you are above all nations. When you know that you're an Israelite man, when our sisters know that they're an Israelite woman, that's supposed to instill a self-pride in themselves, that God has chosen us to be separate from the other nations, to be above all nations, not to be equal with them, not to build a confederacy with them, but to gather ourselves together and to build up our community. Read that last part again.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So, continue reading.
The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people. For ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you.
So that's still a self-pride in us, that we have a God that loves us above the other nation, that he doesn't see us as equal to the other nations. Continue reading.
But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
So just like how the Lord redeemed us out of oppression under the ancient Egyptians, it's the same way when the Lord makes his second return, he's going to redeem us and save us from the oppression of spiritual Egypt today. So now let's go to Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Because we've seen time and time again throughout history that when we ally ourselves with the other nation, it always came back to bite us. Sirach 12 and 10.
The book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
No, what did the Lord say?
Never trust thine enemy.
And remember, who are our enemies? All nations that are outside the 12 tribes of Israel. God is telling us, do not trust them ever. Continue reading.
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him.
So you know how they humble themselves? We'll give you an example. Let's see what's happening in Palestine right now, in Gaza right now. The Palestinians are being bombed to oblivion by the Israelis, and now they want us to jump out of the window to fight for them, to fight for their cause. But how are the Palestinians treating the so-called Afro-Palestinians? Those are the Israelites that are in that land today, our brothers and sisters in that land today. They treat them with the same oppression, the same hatred that Edom treats our people here in America. But now that they're getting bombed, they want to use us to push their own agenda, and that's it. Continue reading that part again.
Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee.
What did the Lord say?
Set him not by thee.
So these other nations, the Lord is telling us, do not set them by them. Do not associate yourselves with them. But what must you do? Continue reading.
Lest, when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith.
So keep that in mind, that when these other nations get advantage of us, they're going to use that and push us out of the way. We've seen that with so-called affirmative action, the civil rights movement, DEI. They have our people, the so-called black folks, African Americans, the Israelites, they have us fighting for the rights of the other nations. And then when the other nations come into this country, they're the ones who get these benefits that our people have fought and died for. So now let's close out with Zephaniah 2:1. This is what we must do as a nation.
The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
So the Lord is telling us that as the Israelites, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you descendants of the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, the sub-Saharan slave trade, what did the Lord tell us to do?
Gather yourselves together.
Uh-huh.
Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
And we are the nation that is not desired. No matter where we go on this earth, it doesn't matter if we're in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, China, Europe, South America, no matter where our people are on this earth, we're not desired. We're the ones who are taken advantage of. We're the ones who are oppressed. We're the ones who are at the bottom of society. And what does the Lord tell us to do from the top again?
Gather yourselves together.
Uh-huh.
Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
So the Lord is telling us, as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you 12 tribes of Israel, our only strength, our only unity, it should be us gathering ourselves together as one nation. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom. What is nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord. His word